What if the key to transforming your life wasn't adding more, but silently removing what's been holding you back all along? The answer to this question may surprise you, and we'll explore it together by the end of this video. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to do more, say more, prove more. We fill our calendars, stretch our limits, scroll endlessly, and speak without pause, believing that activity is the same as progress. But the Stoics, ancient philosophers of calm clarity and inner mastery, knew something we often forget. Growth begins not when we accumulate more, but when we let go. Letting go is not an act of weakness. On the contrary, it is one of the most powerful demonstrations of inner strength. And when we do it in silence, without drama, without announcement, it becomes a profound act of personal liberation. The modern mind is constantly under siege from distractions, comparisons, pressure to perform, fear of judgment, and the weight of expectations, both internal and external. In this state, silence feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels wasteful. But that discomfort is precisely the signal that something deeper is at play. In Stoicism, silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is the space where the mind recalibrates, where clarity emerges, and where power begins to form, not over others, but over ourselves. What we often fail to recognize is that much of our suffering comes not from the events in our lives, but from the clutter we refuse to release. Old relationships that drain us, habits that no longer serve us, beliefs that were implanted in us, but never questioned. Mental noise that keeps us busy, but not fulfilled. The Stoics taught that freedom doesn't come from gaining control of the world. It comes from mastering how we respond to it. And to respond wisely, we must first eliminate what clouds our perception. Consider the people you keep around you. Not all relationships are meant to last forever. Some are based on versions of ourselves we've already outgrown. Yet we hold on, out of loyalty, fear, guilt, or simply habit. But what would a Stoic do? They would ask, does this person add value to my soul, or do they subtract from it? Do they strengthen my virtues, or tempt my vices? And if the answer is clear, the Stoic wouldn't engage in endless arguments or explanations. They would walk away quietly, choosing inner peace over outer conflict. Now think about your habits, the unconscious routines that dominate your time and energy. How many of them are designed for comfort rather than growth? How many of them are numbing your discomfort instead of guiding you through it? The Stoic sees discipline not as restriction, but as liberation. A life full of unexamined habits is not free, it's reactive. But the moment you begin to silently remove what weakens you, you start to create space for what strengthens you. Let's take this further. What about your thoughts? Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion must be followed. Stoicism teaches that just because a thought appears in your mind does not make it true or useful. Silence here means restraint. It means observing without immediately reacting. It means asking, is this thought aligned with reason, or is it just noise? The more you practice this form of mental silence, the less you become a victim of your impulses, and the more you become the master of your choices. Social media, for instance, bombards us with curated perfection, breeding comparison and insecurity. You begin to believe you're behind, not doing enough, not being enough. But the Stoic doesn't compare their path to others. They measure their progress by their own inner standards, by how much more just, disciplined, wise, and courageous they have become. Silence in this context is the refusal to engage in the competition for attention, and instead directing that energy inward toward true self-refinement. There's also the matter of speech itself. We live in a time when everyone has something to say, and says it loudly. But just because you can speak doesn't mean you should. The Stoics warned against excessive talking. They believed that speech should be purposeful, measured, and necessary. They understood that silence carries a power that words often dilute. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let people misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. You lose nothing by staying silent, and you gain the serenity that comes from not needing to explain yourself to everyone. You see, silence is misunderstood. It is not avoidance. It is not submission. It is preparation. A Stoic prepares in silence, refines in silence, heals in silence. The greatest transformations often happen away from the crowd. You do not need applause for every step you take. You do not need validation for every decision you make. The tree does not announce the growth of its roots. It just becomes unshakable over time. So too does the mind grow strong in the quiet. Letting go in silence is also an act of dignity. There is no need to announce what you're done tolerating. Just stop tolerating it. There's no need to post about cutting people off. Just move on. Power is not in the declaration, it's in the detachment. You rise not by proving anything, but by prioritizing your peace. And when your peace is non-negotiable, your life begins to change. So what must you let go of? Perhaps it's the fear of what others think. Perhaps it's the idea that your worth is tied to productivity. Maybe it's an internal narrative that says you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. The Stoic response is simple. Observe the thought, understand its origin, and let it pass. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who decides which thoughts stay and which ones leave. Now, we return to the question we began with. What if the key to transforming your life wasn't adding more, but silently removing what's been holding you back all along? Here is the answer. It is. Because the mind, like a garden, doesn't thrive when you keep planting more seeds. It thrives when you remove the weeds. It doesn't flourish with more noise, but with more clarity. And clarity only comes when we subtract what doesn't belong. The Stoic path is not glamorous. It is not loud. It is not celebrated. But it is powerful, because it teaches you that success begins not with what you can control around you, but with what you are willing to release within you. And the most meaningful changes often require no announcement, just the quiet decision to be better, to think clearer, and to live with the kind of strength that doesn't shout, but endures. So, if you've made it this far, ask yourself in silence, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? And then, without noise or hesitation, let it go. That is the Stoic way. That is the silent power.